Listening intently to that is Information Security Officer from Stryve, Paul Delahunty. Good morning to you, Paul.
Morning, Alan.
Listening to Ellie's story there, she's in her 70s. 118 phone calls, Paul. Absolutely incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I suppose the first thing I'd have to say is that woman is absolutely amazing. To have the presence of mind to do everything she did and take all the right actions, to not engage with it, realise it was a fraud, hang up on it, contact the Gardaí. She did everything right, and she's absolutely, I have to commend her. Absolute fabulous response to it.
It sounds, Paul, like the scam callers were using her number as a kind of a mask to make these calls. Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely, it is. That's what happens a lot. So, they can, just the same way as, with emails, you can get an email in and it can look as if it's from a particular address, but when you look a little bit deeper, you can see, it's actually masked, and the real address is hidden under it, and it can be something totally different. So that thing is possible as well with phone numbers. And, as she quite rightly said in her piece there as well, you're much more likely to trust when you see it coming in from an Irish landline. Yeah. Even more so than a mobile or anything, because you kind of think, that's a landline number. It's physically located somewhere. It's a niche trick from the scammers to do it that way.
Now, she was concerned, Paul, that scammers were listening into the calls, or then they could have access to the call logs of the numbers calling her back. Is that possible?
It's possible, but I would imagine that it's much easier for these scammers to actually just buy the information on the dark web and then use that information to trick people into handing over some more sensitive information. So without knowing too much other than what I've heard there in the call, I would imagine that they used her number as a mask and called up these other 180 or so people. I'm sure it was many more than that. And the idea was that they'd answer and then they'd try and do whatever scam they were trying to do, right, okay, rather than having them call back.
And could it be linked in any way to the cyber attack?
It could be. It could be totally a coincidence, because these things tend to come in waves, but it could have something to do with the cyber attack. There doesn't seem to be anything from that call that information related, as in they've used information on some upcoming operation or something to gain your trust. So maybe it had nothing to do with the HSE. It could be just, it just happens to be a coincidence that it was. They come in waves because the kind of batches of numbers will come out, so it could have been just their turn,
Yeah, I mean, just listening to what you've said there, you probably answered my next question. Was she answered the calls from somebody purporting to be from Amazon Prime, which they weren't. They hung up before giving any information as she realised it was a scam, even without giving information. Here's the question: is talking on the phone a risk of getting hacked, or do you have to do something? Do you have to press a button?
No, generally you have to interact in some way. So I'm not aware of anything that can be done from just answering a phone. There are a couple of urban legends out there about people getting billed for answering phones, but generally that's kind of a collect call situation. But generally you have to interact with them, so you have to press 1 or press 7 or give them over verbally information, or if it's a text or something, you've got to click on a link. You have to interact in some way for something bad to happen or to be hacked.
All right. What about messages sent on WhatsApp, Paul? Picture messages.
Yeah, it's possible, especially on WhatsApp. You get attachments, so absolutely, it's possible that the attachment you get or the link that you get is a malicious link or a malicious attachment. If you got something from a picture message in and of itself isn't dangerous, but it becomes dangerous where you think it's a picture message, but it's actually not. It's actually hiding something underneath that could download something on your phone. And again, the question to ask yourself, even if you get something from somebody you trust, the question is always there: does the sound of the message, does it sound like that person? Does this sound or look like something that person would send me and ask me to click on a link? You have to always start from that position of zero trust and work your way backwards. Even just over the weekend, I got a message from a friend of mine. Now, it did turn out to be legitimate, but the sound of it was a little bit off, So I messaged them separately just to go, was this actually from you, or is this something you sent? So if you do that, you'll be hard to be hacked.
Right. So, if you're suspicious at all, don't engage. I think that's the main message I'm getting from you this morning. If you have any suspicions,
absolutely.
And does the same thing apply to text links from someone on the phone book that could be suspicious? Absolutely.
Absolutely. And anything you get in, even you get calls, and the PPS calls that are going around at the minute, they're another thing. Generally, there's a kind of a pattern to any of these calls. I got 2 of them last week, for example, and I got a month previously. I got one that was purporting to be from the Inland Revenue in the UK, which would have been a great trick if I'd ever paid taxes in the UK. But anyway, but the way they operate is they try to do something that puts you under a little bit of pressure on the back foot.
Right.
Your account is about to close. Click on the links to reactivate it. You're about to be prosecuted for unpaid taxes. Click 7 now and press on 7 to stop any litigation. They tend to put you a little bit on the back foot.
Right. Why is it so prevalent in Ireland at the moment?
The PPS thing could be due to the HSE. It could be due simply to the fact that these hackers know that there's been a very visible and large-scale attack in the country, so people are a little bit on edge, and if you ask them about their PPS number, they think, oh God, I better get that sorted because it must be to do with the attack. So it could be just opportunism.
Right.
It could be just a coincidence, because again, there's waves of these. A couple of years ago, there was a whole wave of people getting called by somebody pretending to be from Microsoft, purporting to they'd supposedly seen problems on your computer, and they wanted to know your IP address and stuff like that so they could fix it.
Yeah.
For a couple of months there, everyone was getting these calls, and then they died out again. And then in a couple of months later, you'll get another wave of something else.
You salute, as we round off our chat for the moment, Paul, you salute Ellie for having the bravery and the foresight to come forward and chat to us. Well done, Ellie.
Absolutely. The main thing, if you ever get caught out by one of these things, the main thing I would say to you is please report it. Don't feel stupid, because you're not. These are very sophisticated, very, very clever attacks. They do these things because they work. So it's not down to you. Feel stupid. Don't feel, I'm too embarrassed to report it. Report it, because you may save somebody else. And that woman is Ellie, I think is her name. What she did was absolutely fantastic, that she was able to recognise there's something wrong here. This doesn't sound right, and to hang up and to report it to the Gardaí as well.
Okay.
Very good.
Good to talk to you, Paul. Your company Stryve, if people want to check your website, where is it, please?
Yeah, it's strivesecure.com. So STRYVURE, all one word.
Thanks, Paul. Good to talk to you. Thanks for taking our call this morning.
Bye-bye.
We're going to look at this area again tomorrow from a local perspective. We received some information from Wexford County Council. They would like to highlight this issue as well. I was speaking to David Minogue. So we'll follow up on this from a Wexford County Council perspective as well, with advice from Wexford County Council and other well-known bodies here locally to help people be very much alert and aware of this.